All right, folks, let's get right to it. What's going on? Great to see everybody today. Buckle up. I think the ride has begun, and Bitcoin doing what Bitcoin does. Loves to go up, loves to go down, but keep going up eventually. And I've got some news, and I'll share that with you right now. Listen, I just posted up on over on the X page on my profile a video of how to get the new HSI amp combo diamond indicator. What is that? What's that all about? Well, that is basically my attempt to really optimize and just absolutely kind of nail HSI confirmation zones. Now, I'm going to stress that I think everyone should be using this new indicator with patterns, and I go through that in the video. So check that out. It's available for everyone that purchased or subscribes currently. And then new trials, you guys can get access to that as well. And the best way to do it is I describe it, or I show you the steps in that video, but for everyone here, go to your invite only section and click on the HSI arrows, and we'll replace that. Okay. One or two things to consider with this is not the phone. Boy, they're calling it the wrong time. And we want to use patterns. Absolutely. And again, I'm thinking that the T1, T2 designation is the best way to go. Let me just show you something. This is from here we go. Yesterday. Boy, that's slow. Taking the time to load here. Where do we go? Well, here we are right now. Actually, let's look at this right now. This 30-second bat pattern, okay? Ideal kind of intraday trade that we just had. Now we're doing the return move. I'll get to this. I'll get into the NASDAQ here in a second, but this is really the thought. You have a pattern right here, T1 designation, that's all automated. We've been using the yellow dots, but what's the problem? The problem has been, how can we optimize so that we can track both indicators to know at what point do they really crack the 50? Like here's HSI. Does that go down under the 50? Let me put that first because that's usually our priority. That's got to hit the 50. And then we want to see amplified hit the 50. Both of those hitting the 50 really then expresses the kind of the position we want to see where you can get that follow through move. Hold on one second. Let me just check here. Yep. Great to see everybody. What's going on? Hey, give me a sound check too, by the way. I think this is going to be my final day of running the Starlink before I cut off Comcast forever. So let me know how we sound, everything. But let me get back to this. So then what we decided to do is then put them together into this third indicator, bottom indicator. I'm going to post all three, but the diamond is like a stamp. That's the way I think is really kind of gelling in my brain, where if we get that diamond, then we're looking at the relevant pattern level for the execution. T1 dot entry using that trigger. This is the farthest I've ever taken this type of concept with confirmation, but it is certainly giving it an edge. It's giving us an edge. It's not every time, but even if you're just going to empirically review it, which I think everyone should do, take a day, 2 days. I mean, here's a 30-second NASDAQ, and it's happening right now. We have no immediate dot, but look at the last three signals here. Bearish 30-second pattern. There's your confirmation. All of that, 25.05.850 there. And you're taking it to T1. All right, that's a real manageable day trade. But even at the lows here, look, Nasdaq sold off pretty nicely this morning, got under 25K, but double dot with the diamond. I'd say that's at least for a temporary reaction. I'm starting to respect it more like that. So take some time, just digest it. We literally just released this morning. Okay, so it's only on TradingView for now. Let me and believe me, the concept, we've been kind of dancing around this concept for a while. And so before I put it on MT4 or the other versions, let's get this perfect. There might be one or two more tweaks to go. So for everybody, look, as you guys know, everyone can get a free trial. Subscribers, new and owners, this is already on your platform. Everyone that's new that wants to get a free trial, you will get this. Send your HPC trading your TradingView username for HPC TradingView to HPC at SR-analyst. Get on that there. Some of the videos I will be uploading over to our Discord as well. I put some of them up earlier. Hold on one second. And I'll have more information on this. Now, I'm going to just kind of show one other. There's a nice little type 2 right here at 86 again. I want to show you guys one thing with the diamond that has caught my eye immediately. And so we'll do more. We will, I'm going to expand this. Okay, and again, maybe it's there's going to be certain ways that we might even illustrate this better. Some kind of shading, like a red shading or a green shading. But the one thing I am seeing on 5-minute time frames for futures, can be NASDAQ, could be S&P, beginning of the day, end of the day. And this is for my crew too. All right, this was this morning. And I was looking for it to be down this morning, like 250 to like 184. But the thing that's really catching my eye are the 930 signals. Pink, purple diamond here right before the open, and not really something you want to fight. I think there's more to this, and it's not going to be it's not going to be every day all the time, but there's going to be a lot of relationships that I'm already seeing, and specifically right at the 930 level. I mean, let me take this off for a second. Let me do this. I'm gonna let me take off the patterns, and then I'm gonna take off everything but the diamonds. Go into the settings, you remove the arrows. Let's say you just wanted diamonds. Just remove all your dots. I still like the dots, but what we're looking for are those areas where the whole idea says, okay, this is a temporary spot. Now, I say that also with kind of the caveat of price, where that price bar that marks where the diamond is more of an absolute level. Should be happening pretty quickly. It should be a turnaround pretty quickly, and I'm respecting that. So looking right at 9:30 and time, I'm thinking like, is this a time specific signal? So there's a signal. Here's the 9:30 open. Okay, first signal of the day is a bearish down. Next day, okay, pre-market, closest thing to the open there. So really just, this is my effort to, and then today's, my effort to, take this kind of technology, if you will, really, of what we've done with the patterns and HSI, but distill it down to immediate areas, absolute immediate areas with a bias. Be like, okay, there's a signal. I better favor it, and I better be playing it this way or that way on the open. 9:30, 9:30. Here you go. Like, what was that? That was Thursday last week. There you go. Pre-market, right before pre-market, get a diamond. We will do more of this, as we get in here to October. The other big update that just to kind of really get you guys going is going to be the pattern profiler. And I think with the diamond, this is going to be, we will have a totally optimized pattern profiler of statistics. Give it a second. Things are running slow. Hold on, let me see if I can pop that back up and add this back on. You guys do not have this yet. It's only I'm the only one that has this, but there it is. I mentioned this before, and again I'm gonna my plan is to bring this where the type 1, type 2 pattern opportunities for what should be the ideal best results are where it only identifies T1, T2 with a diamond confirmation, with dot, blah, blah, blah. I mean, everything that we want to look for and then taking it to the pattern, to target. If it's a T1, okay, then your expected move is at the T1 dollar sign, even though if it's going to go higher, be strict and build out kind of this complex but minimum framework model where then we run stats and then you could favor, the best trades. I'm seeing a lot of crab patterns on themselves being probably the most populated and best results, but I'm going to build in all the confirmation and also stop loss style, dynamic stop loss movement, 30 bar rule. Like, hey, if we're in a trade, and I mean, here's a crab pattern right now, from the pre-market, but automatically have the statistics to run it. Like, okay, if you're in a T1, then and it doesn't get to the target within 30 bars, you're probably done. And bring all of these considerations into like one kind of just a total framework that's quantified on any market that you open up. Hold on one second, guys. Huh. I just had a stop loss get triggered as an entry order. Hate when that happens. Okay, so let's go back. What do you guys think of that? What's going on, chat? I didn't even say hi to you guys. What's up? I'm always working on this, and I really think we're at a point where it builds out kind of a automated bot already, trying to make it as precise as possible. So I get that. If you guys have any questions, hit me up over on the Discord. Obviously, I'll have more information coming. Great to see everybody. All right. So enough with that business. You guys know what to do. Let's start with Bitcoin because that's definitely been the market of the week so far, up above 125 now, and then crash it back down. I mean, not crash it back down, but it's kind of funny. And I think this is going to just continue these $5,000-$10,000 ranges every week. I mean, that's where we are. What really, from what we do, the biggest kind of number that we've been looking for is this immediate pattern. We have a hold on. So we have this Gartley pattern. We talked about this last week, where basically 125 is this hop level, and we have to get through this. We almost ran it. I mean, we ran it for a second to 126, and nothing changes, guys. I'm still, this is the beginning of the breakout phase, and you're just keep on poking these highs. That all right, it's going to take a little more time. But we're there. We're already kind of set in motion. What would be great? I don't think it'll happen. I'm looking for the next, whatever the next oversold dot is. Last ones were down here at, remember, 109, 111-ish. And this is how you should treat it. Once we fail this, I mean, really fail the whole area, then we can start the bigger moves, which are the extreme targets we have talked about, meaning 2618 again, 2618, 155, 160, all right, up to 3618, which is 210. That's where we are. Nothing, and we're 3618 up here. Hold on, 3618. It's like that. Okay, hold on. 1 second. Apparently somebody's. Is it that important? Don't know. Okay, great. Thank you. And I'm still my top end projection here for the cycle about 210, maybe a little bit more. I'm focused on 155. 155 is down here, and that's probably our Thanksgiving 160-ish, 155. That's probably where we go by Thanksgiving. Give it 6 weeks. Amazing that it's 6 weeks away. But yeah, everything else that is set up here for Bitcoin is probably going to just continue to ping pong between levels and dots on the 4-hour time frame as we work our way up. We're looking for, for now, come down, get oversold, which almost oversold HSI in a 4-hour, and then start the resumption. But everything on track, guys. I don't know people. I saw something on Reddit where people were saying that the exact number of days for Bitcoin's run ended yesterday on October 6th. And so that basically yesterday was supposed to be the high in terms of a time count. I don't know. I find that hard to believe, but in terms of time, that was it. Don't know. But I'm not surprised that they're going to keep banging it like this and get people completely over their skis and then knock it down $5,000 pretty quickly. That's the level of volatility you're dealing with on Bitcoin, and don't forget, we're not at 65,000 anymore. We're 125,000. So 5,000 on a percentage basis is nothing. It's really nothing. A 3% move, guys, is $4,000 now. That's a bad day or a good, super good day in the market. 2% move, something like that. You're talking, and with crypto being, I don't know, Sailor says 5 times the volatility of the S&P, then you're not surprised by $5,000 moves. Shouldn't be either way. We were last week, 2 weeks ago, we were down here at 109. 10 was the absolute low. It was like 108.8. Hold on 1 second. Dream, you do this every time, man. You cannot be pinging me on Discord. Now I gotta, please. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. But not while I'm doing it. Hit me later. Anyway, so guys, nobody's really surprised. Everyone was kind of freaking out 2 weeks ago when I was saying 111's the number and it was 109. And I was saying we get back to 118, 120. Well, we did it. We got to 124. So let it let it just keep doing what it's doing, making these big moves, come back, and then positioning off of 4-hour oversold readings. Or even better, 4-hour pattern targets. If we got the Gartley to come to T1 and then launch, wouldn't that be ideal harmonic failure? Yeah, that would. So don't be surprised by it. I'm really not. Again, it's just this is the nature of Bitcoin. I think we're going to get there, guys. And 125. Now you've cracked 125 for the first time. Like literally, take a day off. I mean, major congratulations. 125 is insane. We were saying the same things about 80,000 and 100,000 and 110. So let's just keep it going. I'm not really concerned about anything. And then you look at things like BNB and some of these others. I mean, Binance is just 1,300, guys. 1,300. Binance just gone ballistic. Weekly, this is full on expansion of, Binance Coin doing its 3618 to 2,200. Not a big deal. Remarkable stuff. I mean, Binance Coin, we talked about how sweet that chart was. And that was 600 there back in March. But 3618 advance on Binance Coin, 2,200. Not to mention market cap considerations. I think you need to think about, all right, 180 billion. Whereas its 2618 market cap expansion, can that be 250 billion? Sure. Solana, same thing. Solana's actually within this weekly deep crab pattern. Pretty ideal stuff. And we'd have to get, I would think maybe a diamond signal or something. You need more development here before I'd even be concerned about that. But watching for Solana, can we get to 285? And then the whole explosion point for Solana is obviously above 285. Binance Coin showing, BNB showing you what can happen here. Absolutely. Just remarkable. And that has been a trending candidate that we've talked about, and not to mention just highlighting a couple of things we've noted in the past. Okay, ideal type 1 shark to 5.0. All right, it was a perfect 5.0 July of last year. Goes back for the type 2, no confirmation, and then the bullish HSI. Boy, that was really something. Again, trying to highlight how the patterns on both sides can show you, all right, we expect reaction, but if it's going to fail, it's going to give us signs. That was it. And then the clear breakout above 725, send it, morph. What else? I mean, we should be looking for more of these, right? Yes, we should. Couple others. Well, XRP. What's going to happen there? When is that going to happen? You're just stuck up in here against some patterns. Same kind of a thing. You're looking for these kind of triggers. 278, 275-ish, somewhere here. I think we are probably doing a similar situation that we did from March until like June. And now let's put in a couple here, base around 275 to $3 before we launch again. One or two others that, kind of stick out to me. I'm still looking at Cardano. All right, and waiting for, can we get a dot? Can we get something off of this type 2? We had this Gartley, I mentioned that. That's a big deal, guys. So I want to kind of come back to this because now, according to the software, and yes, that matters, we now have successively higher bullish patterns. And that's a big development. So Cardano here had the big bat pattern back September a year ago. Then we did the 1 and the 2 with the shark. So this is that stair-stepping process I talk about. And the patterns are showing, 39 cents, then 55 cents. now 75. And I think we have one more test on Cardano. We come down, we do the type 2, we tag it, we get some kind of confirmation. 75 is the number, and that could successively send it for the move that a lot of people are waiting on eventually, which is a T2 up to 123. Perfect timing. It would be great, right? I mean, right before the big crypto push, we get a type 2 bullish pattern with confirmation. I mean, that's what we're looking for no matter what. Here's something, just kind of think about it this way as well. Here was that shark pattern. You know, it's kind of this, it's an irregular shark pattern, but it was off this big push. Well, check out where the diamonds lined up for each of them. You know, here's the T1, and that's back from February, and there was the diamond. Okay, that's that stamp of saying, all right, this area valid. And then we did the type 1 smash, came all the way back down, retest fully of the terminal bar. There's your diamond again. Use this stuff with the patterns, guys. I know you're going to see it all over the place, but I really think that's going to be your best bet going forward. For Cardano, I would be looking for that retest dot next week. You know, we're almost done. One sec. So just be patient. We're going to get a couple others that are setting up. I am looking at a lot of these. I mean, there's a lot of patterns right now. Here's Fetch AI, guys, and then we're coming into this situation where, all right, October, we should have a run. That's what they're saying. Well, do we have patterns? Do we have confirmation? Here is the daily time frame. Where's the weekly? Sorry, hold on. There we go. Weekly FET. Okay, another bat pattern. Kind of like what we were just talking about with Cardano. First bat pattern from the prior cycle. All of that was down way down there, 16 cents. Big crazy move. Come on back. Now here, 57. And you have confirmation down here. So that's the kind of thing. It's the best, kind of most ideal way to be looking at a pattern with confirmation. And, you know, down at this point here, that's a type 1. And the expectation is hold that 57 level. And literally we're 56.6 right now. I would start looking for this next retest here. Can we get it going back so we get into the type 1? The only problem is we're still under this type of constraint as well. And this is what we saw last year, guys. We saw this thing where a lot of these patterns and these beautiful setups, remember stellar lumens? Once they were able to crack that downtrend with all of this there, I mean, this is ideal. Okay, made the progress, you bust 57, then you start moving. We're looking for target 160 off of that pattern. So keep an eye on it. But that's got everything that I've been talking about. Maybe we need a dot, and maybe that dot comes down with a slightly like a yellow dot, but no. I mean, I'm looking here, but the larger necessity of breaking out of the downtrend is, I think that's probably the only thing holding this back. So maybe another week of development in here, test 57 for a while, and then get going. But we saw that earlier in the year. I think that needs more time. There's a lot of great crypto plays that aren't doing anything yet. They haven't developed. Chainlink did give us something that on the daily, we were looking for this move We had this bearish pattern, remember? Chainlink's like this, and I'm looking at it. I think Chainlink has got fantastic development where like Zcash and some of these others that have really popped off, if we can clear out of this zone, it could really do things. Now, the bat pattern here that Link printed did give us that pullback, not all the way to 1915, but was under 20. And that low there was 1993. We were looking for 1915. Well, now you have a couple of things, some confirmation, HSI, that I'm still looking in general area. I'm not long Link, but I'd like to get long Link because what I'm really playing for is the 19 move back to 25, somewhere down here, 19 back to 25, and then blow through. Blow through into November, December, and then we'll see how far we can get it. Also, the weekly for Link, I mean, again, guys, these are phenomenal patterns looking left, and it's something we've talked so much about. And we're now getting to the most vital part of the crypto cycle. And how many times have we seen where, hey, you got a type 2 pattern here? That stuff takes time to really get going, but the fact that you've got a pattern looking left, Link has successively higher lows, which I think is in early development is more important to have higher lows than even higher highs. Because then when you go to blast off, you've done all that prior consolidation necessary. You can even go to the monthly. Link has got, that's a nice chart, guys. That's like Binance Coin years ago, or Binance Coin at 2,300. And I would look at that range, and I'm fairly confident that Link in its near-term history has got this 886 bat action magnet move breakout coming. That's like 48. Yeah, it's not going to be immediate, but this is the long-term direction for Link, guys. There, breakout, do the bat action magnet move to the 886. So above 28, 29. That's what you're looking for, but I already see it all in here. It's got what it needs to do. A couple more. What's up? Appreciate it, Greg. What's up? Jay's asking, what about CRO? I like CRO. We've been waiting for that pullback. That's crypto.com or Chronos. I don't know why they call it what. Somebody explain to me why they call it Chronos. I took some shots on this last year. I was telling you guys about that, I think, a week or two ago. Last year, last October, it was this kind of bat pattern. And I also think this is a great example of patterns looking left. The pattern's going to form. And the pattern, certain longer term patterns, especially stuff like this, 2024 all the way through 2025, type 1, and then now for 2 back-to-back patterns. And now we have another launch. Just required a whole ton of time to have that development. But where was the diamond in both situations? And I think this is going to help. I personally, I want more time with this. But this is what I'm seeing. It's the optimization of where the pattern consolidation development ends, and we can finally get some real acceleration. So this was the bat pattern, and it was a type 1 off of this one and a type 2 off of the prior one. That's special. But look what happened. All of that completed. It was January, February, 7 cents, 8 cents. 8.6 was the number. But the real diamond came in there, and that was July. I mean, that's a special spot. And a lot of what we do, guys, is getting yourself in alignment with where the signal generates for the optimal entry. I mean, you could have gotten in here and sat through all of this because you're still here at T1 off of this bat thinking 8.6, good spot to be looking for a move to 13 cents. Goes much higher. Well, it's crypto. Or back on the other one from last year, I mean, just take a look at that. Same kind of a thing. Looking for the pattern to complete, T1 designation. This is CRO, but there's the diamond. Okay? And still does a funky consolidation for 3 extra months before it reaches target. But again, it's one of the advantages. I really think if you know that a type 1 pattern it needs to. That's the way to think of it. That, hey, this pattern has set up, completed, triggered confirmation. Okay, to satisfy whatever is happening, we have to at least have a reaction to T1. And you're down here going through all of this and drawn out, ugly price action, lacking ideal. We're still saying, well, where is T1? And it comes. I mean, this is I don't know, it's the kind of the love-hate of crypto. You get this crazy blast, and that was 7 at the high of that first move was 22 within 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then you got a purple overbought arrow. And what happened? At 18 cents, it went all the way back to 8 cents. As a trader, that's something that with crypto, I'm still trying to figure out. Like as a trader, I would take those signals, I'd run, I'd be like, all right, I'll come back next year. Other people, traditional crypto people, will be like, hey, I held through all of that because I want to see $1 someday. And you know what? You might see $1 on this sucker. You might see $1, but you'd have to go through a lot of up and down to get there. So think about that. But right now, I'll look at this 18-cent level on CRO. If this is really going to start something, it should maintain the trend line. Should not violate where that signal is. And even on the weekly basis, again, I like the chart. I really like this chart. Because I do think a full recovery is now possible with this much action. Here to here, is it XAB? What was that? That was almost a perfect 382, 36. But can we do an 886 someday? Yeah, I think so. Crypto.com, we go to 90 cents, 85 cents. We're down here 19 cents. Where's the next jump on point? Keep them, that's the thought. All right? And again, there's more to it, all right? In my opinion, I think to avoiding a lot of unnecessary drawdown or waiting time. I mean, the whole crypto prophecy, guys, even though most of these charts look terrible, I think the crypto prophecy is going to be realized. The crypto prophecy where they become real physical units of actually having economic activity and value where they're a business. A lot of these are speculation, but CRO, crypto.com, it's just some obscure crypto exchange. Well, what's the potential there? No, it's currently 6.89 billion of some kind of exchange, all right. Down here at the low is 2 billion. But what's it really worth? If it's a real exchange like, I don't know, Coinbase or one of these, or is to become anywhere close to there, well, then you got, that could become maybe a 20, 30, $50 billion entity someday. Someday. I mean, that's how you get to If this is 20 cents at 7 billion, what's a dollar? Got it? You're talking like 35, 40 billion. But we're still going to have this crazy action. And when we get those signals of being oversold and overbought, it's up to you how you want to trade it. If you want to ride through those ups and downs, I'm thinking that, we're in this window now where we should be looking for the larger development, the realization of it to occur, of the big boost. Let's go to total crypto cap, market cap. And I'll look at others too. But the total crypto market cap, what are the possibilities? We're up here at 4 trillion. Is there anything up here at 4 trillion? Not really. A shark pattern that is seemingly wanting to fail. And that's okay. That's actually a good thing. We want to see bearish patterns fail, even though it hasn't done the full price move yet. Enough time and enough signals have occurred where this is failing, and we want to do that bypass. I've also said that the crypto, when you look at the total crypto market cap all-time trend index, I mean, it's a hell of a chart. I mean, guys, it's probably an even better chart than 2020 for long-term considerations, because you've had that much more history. Okay, and you've had a massive higher low, the 2022 higher low being higher than the 2020 low. It just is so big for longer term possibilities that this is a real all-time kind of channel that will continue longer term, and I'm talking 5-10 years. You can ride that's a minimum channel, and expecting these type of big expansion moves. We're still looking for that big 1618 1902 touch, which is 1618 is like 4.35 ish, up to do a 1902 minimum. That's our zone. That's a natural harmonic overbought kind of expansion move. Call it 5 trillion, guys. Call it 5 trillion. Again, I'm not even like, until Bitcoin hits a 2618, until total market cap hits 5 trillion. We're not done the move. We haven't hit minimums yet. But the long term of this development, you go back, I mean, just is the whole time. I mean, the crypto is a real thing now. And you are on what I think is going to be an accelerated move that will go well beyond the 2618. Excuse me, the 1618, and then run to a 2618. Something up to 7.5 or 8 trillion. I think my max target, like a 2618 extension, total crypto market cap would be about 6.6. 3618, guys, is 9, or I don't know if we'll get full 3618 this cycle, unless they print maybe another billion coins. 9ish, and that's an overextended move. I'm just focused right now at 5 trillion. And you go to the last cycle, it's the same kind of assumption. Hey, is crypto real or is it a scam? Well, it looks like it's real for now. Okay, how high can this price discovery go? Because there you go. There's your 1618 from the last cycle at 1 trillion. Doink. And then go. And 3618 was all the way there. 2.4. Once we hit that, it started topping out. It should be the same type of assumption going forward. So we're not there yet. More volatility, but that's firm railroad tracks higher. Yep. What's up, chat? People still coming in. Great to see you guys. Let's go. Wolf Peter says Kronos was the Greek god associated with Saturn, and we know Saturn. Well, I'm still monitoring this 3i Atlas. Believe me, if this thing comes around, in early December and is out of position, go buy, a 50-pound bag of rice, 50-pound bag of beans, and some hot sauce and settle in. Um, let's do a couple more. Dash, yes. Well, Dash. I think Dash is something you got to consider because of Zcash. Dash is there's your monthly all-time chart. That's a problem with crypto. Most of them look like this, but then sometimes they have their day, like Zcash. I mean, Dash is a big signal at 22 bucks with the big hop level there at 24.72. What's interesting is that what's the last diamond here off of that pattern? Well, it was bearish there and another bearish. We had a bullish one, but then the bearish offset it. Is there anything down here? No, not yet. But I'm watching that and Monero and some of the other privacy coins because whatever this is done doing, Zcash, is that just like a one-off 1 week and now we're going to go all the way back down? Or is that the start of something bigger? Because this low is a higher low than the prior year. That's a big development. Big. And, Zcash, you don't have to look, it's probably way overdone. I mean, to logically say there's any entry, I would need 30 days or more. But, it is an example of what's happening that we should look in other areas for sure. The other one was, as I said, Monero, and that had its move. There you go. But is this going higher? We had, where's the daily? There you go. The shark pattern here, type 2, 333. But then when we bring it out, all right, daily, looks like you got some things you got to deal with. Temporarily, yeah, look, couple of back-to-back patterns, but I like the larger development, and that's what we're seeing in these things that are popping off. Like Monero in April went from 165 to 400, something going on there, and then all the way back to 234, but pops off again. Point being, okay, you've got a bearish situation at the moment, but the larger trend is clearly pushing up, and I like the fact that you've got successively higher patterns. I said that about Chronos and a couple others, Cardano as well, and they start making progress like that. So Monero right now, 345 is that XA on the bat. Let it come back in, and we'll get something else. Maybe we get back to 275 or 234 ish or something. But you draw this out, like go monthly, guys. Something's going on here. Look at that. Look at that monthly chart for Monero, guys. That is a just building beast, and I really could see Monero doing things in a major way. So I'm these have my attention. They should have your attention because this is kind of giving me the kind of Binance vibes. BNB was at $20 or $30 and it went to 100 or whatever. Just remarkable. And then you look at the market cap. Just keep that in mind. Where's this going? 5 billion. Can this go to 10, 15, 20 billion? I mean, Doge is still up there around 30 billion. What's Doge market cap? 38 billion. And the other ones are privacy coins. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, that's right. Long the calls on black beans and rice and hot sauce. What's up, Neil? Wants to look at SUI. Sui's another one. It's probably a good segue. Sui, long-term chart. There's probably better longer-term charts. That's monthly. I think Sui's, you know, nicely trending since last year, 50 cents to $5, all the way back to under 2. Now you're moving again. What's the problem? You've just been squeezed between patterns. Look at how many patterns we've had here. If this pops up, come on. And we're still, we're back to back shark to 5-0, shark to 5-0. Shark to 5-0, back down, retest the shark, do another 5-0, and we're successively higher lows. So this is going to resolve really soon. And I'd say this whole year downtrend that's almost done. And you go higher from there. Again, it's like a time thing. It's just, look, if you got into Sui at 50 cents, congrats. And if you had the wherewithal to sit through all of that, congrats. You're going to get rewarded soon. You're going to break out. And this is the trending creatures I like to highlight of, real possibility. Tron, TRX, that was the other one. It's been a while. But Tron's back up here. And again, a really interesting pattern. I think this is going to fail. I would love to get 28 cents if we could, just on principle, guys, because this is the other thing about a lot of these trending patterns. When you get them, how do we know that they're going to be a dud? Well, give it at least 30 bars, and we do have a counter HSI here that triggered, and we're well beyond 30 bars. So there's a secondary confirmation. I'm not too concerned about that as much as if we break out above that area, that's where you can go price discovery. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for this stuff to go price discovery where you're not 30 cents or anything. I mean, this long-term trend on Tron, it's damn impressive. I mean, look at that. There's the history. And look, patterns looking left as well. The importance of patterns looking left right there, 5 cents. That was 2022. All the way up, okay. Now bust it and do something substantial. What else? Lino, every time you must be long a bunch of this LCX. LCX USD. Not bad. Probably actually worth a shot. Why? Well, not huge progress, but we have a series of higher lows. This green line, that's major weekly HSI support around 11 cents. What do we need? Some kind of daily trigger? Something, we have anything down here? No real pattern. Wish I had a pattern here. Wish I had a big bat pattern or something there. I don't have any pattern there, but I'd look at that. And even if you don't have a pattern, guys, all of the crypto that have been correcting should at least have violated the downtrend that most of them are in. I mean, at least this one did that. I don't have a pattern, so I'd prefer a pattern setup with confirmation, but at least get patterns, price action breaking downtrends so that we can turn around and start moving. We're still under the downtrend, not going to work. J. CRV, really quick. Yeah, I see that. Another one. Look at that. How many of these are we popping up that are all doing this kind of gradual higher lows? I mean, that's a great chart, guys. And that had pattern. That has actually a number of patterns looking left. But before I do it, I think we all can agree, This is a higher low than that. That's a higher low than that. That's a higher low than that. And there's your bottom inflection a year ago. Right there. And you had things down. Look, all the patterns that were down here, basically 25, 27 cents, the low end, with a lot of XA levels around 50 or 40-ish. Just a general ballpark zone. So this is definitely turning around. You like it. And how about a weekly? What's going on a weekly here? CRV. Oh, check this out. Shark to 5-0. Okay. And that 5-0 level is 75 cents. A little sloppy, but we should be making our return back up to 130, 145. I think a larger breakout could happen because look, when you've got this kind of a range, that's the washout phase. Okay, base it. You have enough to go back from where you are, 75 to like 120 or 150-ish. But yes, what you really want to see is a major recovery move. But for right now, I think it's a great spot. Start looking at CRV for larger possibilities, especially as I said, it's another higher low. This is another higher low, and there in the daily, yep. 1 second, hold on. It's like this. A bat pattern. Check it out. Incredible. The bat pattern going to target 2. Exactly. I mean, that was exact. And target 2 hit, broken the downtrend. I would say we have since July. Back test and go. That's a good spot. That's a good one. And I think you should be looking for these type of trending crypto because these are going to be the ones with the greater potential to go bust out and go price larger price recovery to price discovery. Yeah. What's up, Feature 94? Cake and synthetics. Did these ever do anything? Now it's doing something. I haven't looked at this one or synthetics or what was the other one? PancakeSwap and synthetics. What was the other swap? I forget. All right, type 2. That's damn nice. I think major things happen above the 550 level. But what about ones that are in a better spot that haven't tripled already or doubled? That's a great pattern. And I think even bigger is the fact that you're trying to put in, again, higher lows. Look at that all-time history. That's nuts. It's 45 at the high. You're 4. You're down to $1, 99% correction, 98%. But you have patterns looking left. So again, that's a nice basing formation, and the higher lows give you a chance that you didn't have. The fact that, look, you went down here and, I mean, almost, did you take out that all-time low? I mean, you just like retested that all-time low in April. And now making that kind of progress. Yeah, now, and your catch up has really been the last 2 weeks. What about like synthetics? You should probably be looking at all of those. These are prime. Synthetics, guys. Very interesting. There you go. I mean, this one, PancakeSwap. What was the other swap? Sitting right on the hop level at 58 cents. That's crazy. But confirmation, green line, it's taking time. And it's a type 2. That's remarkable. What other, hold on. What other swaps are out there? Swap, trust swap. I don't know what that is. Let's look at swap. Trust swap. Not really. Needs more development. That's PancakeSwap. much further along. Don't know. One or two more, and then let's get into a couple stocks because I think there's just so many things that are crazy opportunities. I mean, huge. ETHFi, yeah, that's making progress. That's a new deal. Boy, 30 cents in April. Now 175. And look at that. Big seven. Yeah. Pattern looking left for sure. Nothing. I can't offer anything in the moment. Like with these kind of things that have moved so much, you have to maybe just find a jump on point. Maybe just HSI or some kind of smaller pattern. Even back in August, that was 84. I got nothing up here. I mean, you're even kind of chasing it. The last opportunity was really like 106. Just get the 4 hour chart. It's made a lot of progress already. I can't chase it for you. But we get a pattern pullback. We probably will. That's the point. What's up, Mr. Powell? Wants to look at YFI. I think we looked at that last time. Down here, right at the 5K level. Is it daily or weekly? Some patterns down here daily, like 4,500 is that bat pattern. Yeah, I could see that, or maybe it was a weekly here. Maybe just oversold. It needs a little more time. I mean, that's not developing. Hasn't really put in like a higher low. I mean, if this was going to be developing and be something like, it'd be like this. You come down, bang, higher low, then go and like that. And you're not doing that yet. All right, Jupe, last one. All right, Jupe. I had a couple that were injective was one that comes to mind. I'll pop over there for a second. Jupe, yeah, not really. I mean, you're starting to, but look, you had a big low down here. There's the pattern, but confirmation wasn't until 30 cents. The pattern was 50. That's kind of troubling. Sideways. And you had a higher low there, but we're breaking it. So, wasn't injective though. There's some of these like real sleeper style. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe down here at 9. Bat pattern. I'll save it for Thursday. Yeah, there you go. It was this. It was injective, and it's just it's a big pattern looking left at 9:30. That gives you something to go on though. I mean, I want more stuff like this. And I like the fact that there's your initial low, a higher low or secondary higher low. Not to mention that this shark is really defining kind of the completion of the bust out cycle. You know, big IPO launch, 886 reset. Now maybe we start to go again. I'm going to look more for these. I like that. Uh, let's segue over, guys, to some of the miners, stocks. Look at CleanSpark, right? Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. CleanSpark right here. Ever since that breakout, and it was the back test here of a couple of things, you know, big weekly pattern, weekly HSI. That was as high as 18, almost 19 recently. But if this is really going to be the move, we're looking for target twos, 28-ish. And again, daily. The daily was this Gartley. And check it out. I'm amazed. I'm really amazed. Let me sort this out, okay? Show you guys. It's a lot of dots, a lot of, I mean, if you're not really focused exactly on what I'm going to show you, you might not see it, but where's the T1 for this is CleanSpark was there. So as soon as T1's generated. We're looking for confirmation, but we're thinking XA's 1033. We go to target 1, 1522. Where's the confirmation? It comes later. That's August. Comes like a month later. There's the diamond. So the thought, okay, that's the point where we can get acceleration to target. And that's what you got. And now, after that, came all the way back down. There's the T2 print because it retested the level. Again, where's the confirmation? Well, it's further down here. 760, and that was March. But you're still at the T2 level here on the retested 10. I'm thinking, okay, now we're looking for confirmation to get us to target 2. Well, we just hit that. 1884, and the high yesterday was 1887. But in between all of that, think of all the stuff that happened, all the stuff that we had to go through. You know, all the craziness, March, April, the recovery into June, and it still came back where we had plenty of time. There was that secondary entry, and we talked about that. So now I would say target achieved. Yes, I think it could go higher, but target achieved. I would look for some kind of pullback after this because that's like the first move. But if we're really going to make bigger progress, it's obviously above 19 or 20. And you have plenty of room looking left here. But in terms of that pattern doing what it needed to do, done. Yeah. And Clean Spark has been, as I said, the best pattern setup of all. So take a look at both daily, weekly on these. Let me give you this other one, BMNR. And this has got, here we go, daily, several HSI dots. This thing is just building and building. So looking for that last dot, that's like 56-ish. This is just a matter of time. And it's crazy the fact that they've been able to do what they've done, buy as much Ethereum as they have, and in as short of a time as they've had. But BMNR is this, just building like all of these we've seen. Higher low, higher low, higher low. And then, because once we break out of that 71, 72 B point, it's an 886 recovery move. And that's 144. Will we get there? Let's see. But that's the size of kind of the recovery possibility for BMNR. We see it in Clean Spark. And then you look at stuff like, unbelievably, look at HUT. HUT back in April of that T1 was 11. And it went to 40. 40. What made that possible? How does that get from 8 to 40? Well, you go back and look at the scale here on the weekly. Whole lot of things, nice base. You guys see what I'm getting at? A lot of development, and this still, that's a bat pattern right now, all right? But it's not the greatest pattern because it's an intermediate. It's pulling off the wrong point. It's a bat off of that high. And I just think that's a reaction, just standard resistance. Let it pause here. But the bigger takeaway is the fact you had that range, you had the other stuff develop, and now, eventually, with HUT, once we get through this, the long-term chart for HUT is an 886 retest. This whole concept of being a recovery candidate applies to crypto as stocks. As long as we have patterns and signals and great development like that. The other one is IREN, which, look at that. Look at IREN, guys. Did we have anything? Yeah, we did. We had development. 2023, the low on IREN was $1. Now it's 60. Where you're going to find a crypto that does a 60x. Not too many. And then we had this pattern back in March. I mean, again, this is probably the best of the group, but this is showing us what's possible. So let's find more. SBET. Oh, damn. I like that. I think we should be thinking that this stuff, it's not going to happen in every one, but let's line up a group of candidates and see if we can get some of these to follow in the same manner. SBET, the SharpLink Gaming, let me get the stock here. There you go. Kind of looks like BMNR a little bit, but we have this last HSI. I want a pattern. Definitely want some patterns to precede this. I'll give you a low floater. Something that you might want to look at, this BTBT, guys. This is making slow but steady progress. All right, and I think what you have to go back on with BTBT is the weekly or even monthly chart. BTBT has a lot of the same stuff that Iron had, Hut, and I've always said this could go to target one, or the plan would be for that to go to target one at 13. What's been the problem? You've gone nowhere. You know, you went to $1 and then back to $5, and you've basically done that 3 times in the last 2 years. But there's going to come a time when we're going to bust this 5 and go to 13. And I like that. I mean, again, these are the kind of setups they are they're the home run kind of plays, frankly. And if we're going to get into this crypto phase, finishing it out this cycle, and we're seeing these kind of plays pop off, we got to go for it. Pretty much now's the time. Yeah. Let's go. What's up, Genghis Khan? Let's just do some individual stocks, and I'll circle back to Nasdaq. AAL, American Airlines. Yeah, I think there's better places to fish. That might recover, but I mean, you got some patterns. That's a weekly, and it's a type 2. I'm not an airline. Airlines are usually not a great place for money. They're just not, unless you're a special situation. But it's a type 2 already. But I think there's better trending assets we want to look at. A couple others, BBAI, Big Bear AI. Yeah, this is a trending. Look, this is something that hasn't even started the move yet. This is Rigetti, guys. This is Rigetti at 10 or 15 or whatever. And I'll show you Rigetti in a second. Now 44. The one that we're currently long is Soundhound. Back at 11, now 17. This has got the development and the build, but it's taking time. What was the other one? It's still long the CXAI, and that's, this is a super low floater. I mentioned this before. Where are we? 84. Here on the daily. Just because this has so many ideal elements, this is why I'm playing this super low floater, but it is a type 1 and then a 2 delayed confirmation. That's fine. A dot there. And because it's a 2, I'm thinking 185. That's down here in this hole here. That's what I'm thinking. Can we get above it? Above $1, above really 120 to make that happen? We'll see. But I've actually been looking more at these kind of plays, these turnaround plays, because we've seen so many. And I come up to the kind of the king of turnaround plays, which is Lithium America. And Lithium America, we looked at this. A lot of you got into it because of this big pattern. And then you asked me all summer, When? I just said, hey, it's a matter of time. We got to get to the right of this downtrend and look at it. Finally we had the explosion move, and it's still a T1 to 1217, even though it's at 8. Many patterns like this. What is the problem with it? Are you going to be able to hold on for the 6 months or 12 months it might take in these situations before they really get going? But I mean, that was amazing. LAC. Couple of new things. Here's one that I been looking more at the quantum stocks and related plays. Being Bonsai. This is something that caught my attention recently, and got to have patterns here too. Hold on, why is this doing this to me? Can I get the scale right? Hold on, let me see. Put a 4-hour chart on that. Scale skewed. Hold on, let me come back to this. Yeah, it's a deep crab here. 4-hour chart, but again, I'm down here 250, $3 ish, looking for 7. The other one was oh Upstart. Okay, check this one out. Upstart, perfect pattern. Dot, diamond, da da da. Big move up, 85. Now here's a perfect retrace of that correction with the dot, a shark, and literally just triggering now. Terminal bar is like 52.90. The diamond was last week, and now we checked back yesterday, which was the real entry. And when I say that, let me bring this up to everyone's attention, especially folks that have the software, because this is our primary trigger. Like, we'll use the patterns to define the levels and the targets. But within that zone, what I'm looking for is this exact kind of confirmation. The yellow dot triggers, then it retests. This should be the final divergence phase. Pattern level is like 59. The low is 50, so we're ballparking it. But we're saying it's a 4-hour chart. This is, I think, on the daily too. Yeah, the dailies might be a little earlier, but the daily's got everything. We're checking back. Probably get, yeah, we even have on the bottom indicator, all of that's oversold. So maybe a little bit more time because of the daily, but you're right there. So eyes on Upstart. You're looking for yellow dot and a diamond. You're going to get them. It might be another day or two. 4-hour chart, also a good place to monitor, but that's really close. But there's a few patterns right there happening as we speak. There's others, a couple others that are interesting that I'll dive into in a minute. Yeah, gold and silver is exactly what I want to talk about because gold's above 4,000. Couple others really quick. A couple of these other stocks, and I'll get out of here. Rivian, didn't that have a? Yeah, it's an HSI, but it's not ready yet. We're looking for. It's a Type 2 at 13. Okay, good, but get some kind of confirmation. Look at the diamond, guys. Now, again, think of it as a stamp. I mean, I want the dot to be the trigger, but having the diamond there at a pattern level, that is best application for that indicator. Now, where you are here, let that retest like 13. Let's get another dot. I mean, that's the 4-hour. Rivian's more about this weekly. It's another one of these where are we going to break out of this downtrend and be able to exhibit some verifiable progress? Maybe not just yet, but getting closer. If we can, yeah, I like what's going on here. Probably for the first time in a long time. I mean, absolutely. Couple others. Archer Aviation, man, everyone's into that. I'll show you the one that I'm in, which is Joby. Everyone's talking about this. I think it goes higher, guys. I think, yes, Archer does get to the 886 and then becomes something even crazier. The one that I brought this up a couple weeks ago, Joby Aviation, and we're now making bigger progress. Well, I think that was a daily. It was here just last week. All right, now it's a crab. But we were talking about that at 14. Maybe it was a daily. There. Yeah, I think it was that daily. Now, a lot of these are really because we've got a hot stock market and you got stuff like, look at Rigetti, guys. So Rigetti, use this as an example. We have talked about Rigetti. We were talking about Rigetti way back here in June, July at around 8 because we were saying, all right, let it do the type 1. There's a counter signal and then it will fail. And I was thinking it goes to the 886 at about 20 bucks. Well, it's 45. 43.50 right now. Not much I can offer at the moment, but these are happening. And you go to like Qubits, which is the other big quantum player, D-Wave here. I mean, that's done a move. And then the other one was quantum computing, Qubit. Yeah. But we're looking for stuff like this. Higher low on the daily with a double dot. All of this we talked about September, October. What's next? You know, what are like the next set of plays that are going to make that kind of move? I showed you one or two. Another one that I think this honest company was this the one, the weekly here. I think this was the one. Maybe it was. Let me see here. Honest down here, right around. Well, we have a dot yesterday or a diamond yesterday. So I'm literally just starting to watch this. You're 380-ish. The trigger for the whole thing, that yellow dot, yeah, it's 390. That literally triggered yesterday. And then what was the other one? Oh, here's a couple bigger ones. So Adobe, guys. I think I talked about this last time. Patterns, oversold, on a major correction. Look at that crab pattern for Adobe. All right. What's wrong with this? Hasn't broken out yet. But great pattern. Confirmation, oversold all around 338, maybe as low as 335. There are several of these that are, I think, so many of them are exploding, doing crazy moves. This, on that 1618 correction, and then the weekly, look at the Gartley here on the weekly for Adobe. So I think that's a big opportunity. It's going to take time, but we're certainly down in here thinking that's a type 1, 346, maybe 330-ish, but down here I'm thinking for it go to 475. That's how we kind of rationalize it out of this is going to work out. Let's pinpoint the trigger and we're going to just put target 1 on the objective. That's 475. I know nobody wants to use Adobe products anymore, but I'm talking trade. I'm talking a trade opportunity. That's it. It's oversold. I'm looking for the completion of that oversold, turn around, and then be a weekly swing trade back to target 1. Don't have it yet. We're damn close. The other one that I think we people are underestimating a lot is IBM, and a lot of this is amazing trend. I would get this on the market, sorry, on your radar, because in terms of all these type of plays in the market, this is like a Google, an Oracle that has yet to really pop off, and it trades smoothly. We're at the top end at the moment, but I think IBM and Google, they've done, they're big cap plays that continue to printing successive higher highs, higher lows, and then you get confirmation stuff like this. Google right now, HSI looking for some more consolidation, but I don't think we spend a heck of a lot of time, much more time in the 240 area. I think Google's more like go for the 2618 above 300. This is just massive continuation, guys. And this is the next spot. I mean, look, Google checked back 2 days ago. That's it right there. What was that? That was Thursday. Yeah. And then Friday it retested. Yesterday was green. One more green day. And you're going to get a dot, and just this will then continue. And I'm looking for minimum short term like swing 1618. Think of it this way. Big move up. It does the pause, and now we're about to break out and do another 1618 move. Like there, 265, 270-ish, something like that. Couple more. Well, the energy plays, guys. Yeah, BTU, but some of those others. Wow, look at that. Amazing. Peabody Coal. That's a great chart. I mean, that's really is a remarkable chart. What else? I think I think some of these natural gas companies are probably due as well. Look at that Peabody Coal, all the way down there at 5, now 32. Uh, what was the other one? Well, I haven't looked at this in a while. I haven't looked at Chevron, Exxon. They've all been stuck in this high level. What about XOI? We haven't looked at the oil index in a while. Weekly, just holding up there. I think the big play has been all around the data centers and needing energy going forward to do all the AI stuff. Um, Not going to be sexy plays, but that's definitely where the money's going. I'm going to keep pounding on this, guys. I think the solar ETF, the TAN, might be a great way to play the kind of the renewed or next solar cycle, which I think is already started. There you go. Where's my pattern? There's bat pattern. We're breaking out, and I think this is a massive breakout at the moment of recovery move where you're now 45. We've been talking about TAN all summer long. And check it out. What happened down here on the weekly? Oh, it's a diamond. Are we accelerating after the diamond? Yeah, look. Let me blow this up. We have a pattern. Yes. T1 designation. There. HSI and accompanied with the arrow, meaning that got oversold enough. Are we making progress after that diamond? Yeah, we are. And if this was going to be super weak, that dot should have capped it. Didn't. Now making progress. Again, buy this on retracements, 4-hour, hourly retracements. Just keep nibbling away. Where's this? The hourly is deep crab. All right. I mean, maybe we'll get another shot pretty soon at 44. This stuff is not moving quickly, but it's definitely gaining steam when you see this stuff. Successively higher dots, every retracement pops up higher, 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 higher again. That's how we stair step it up. So tan, probably the easy way to go in terms of if the solar is going to be a big surge, great. First solar, yeah, I mean that's the high flyer, and that's a butterfly too. But maybe back at 216, let it come in, and then we go again because these trends are, look, they're developing with a larger time frame in mind. Meaning, if solar is going to recover, we're talking a multi-year recovery. I'm not just talking for first solar just to do a 382 bounce. I mean, look, first solar looking like after this big IPO spike, 886 reset. What was that? The move to 128. It was just a 618 retracement. I mean, I am literally thinking in this regard, especially with when I see longer term patterns and development like this, where First Solar is something that that's the crash capitulation all the way back 886, almost exact 1.0, and then back down there's a 618. Well, we should be thinking this going price discovery kind of a thing from this C point. Short term, I would say go back to 300, 886, 290ish. But eventually, if this market's going to do what I think it's going to do, where broader breakout of all these can go to 1618s, they're not crazy targets. Solar doesn't work in winter, but it depends on where you are. If you're down in Mexico, you're down in South Texas. I mean, South Texas. Yeah, I know they get winters, but you go far enough. Look, these guys they're trying to supply themselves with their own power. They're going to have to build it. Um, all right, really quick. So the whole idea about everything we've talked about with this current market is an asset inflation driven trend where asset prices continue to go higher, basically because of crappy monetary policy. Well, gold is at 4,000, guys, and 4,100 has been the objective. We're almost there, and we're there in short order. You guys know that I've been fawning over gold for the last 3 years, just kind of amazed at what has been transpiring. So you go like, take the all-time projections here. There's 2618, and we're going to line it. I mean, it's just, this is the harmonic framework. 2618 to 3618. Like that. That's all that's left here on gold. And then we'll see, how much higher on this move, this run, this generational bull market can we take it? The 2618 all time. It's 42. It's 4260, 4265. I was saying there's a couple of reasons why I was saying 4100, but I think that might even be better. 42, 65, maybe 43, and then longer term of a 3618 expansion. All right, get you to like 5,500, guys. These are numbers that I want to just get in your vocabulary. I know this is done a crazy thing. It's popping off. It's probably is starting to blow off top, but how high? Where can that go? And then, think of it this way: is also at the low here, we're already beyond the the low there of at 1,000 on the cycle low from back from the 90s. Okay, it's a 4x. How much more are we going to go? 5x, 6x, 10x. I mean, is this going to 10,000? Some people are throwing out some crazy numbers. I really feel like this kind of an expansion framework of a 2618 to 43 and then maximum upside of 5,500. These are legitimate numbers to talk about. The whole bypass of 3,000 to 4,000 that's done. That's done, and it did it in short order. We got to start now raising targets. And that, and then silver is the other one, and these are going to be the two, I think, primary precious metal markets that to keep an eye on. I heard some people saying, "Oh, well, silver's gone up too much, so it's going to crash." No, look, silver's just 886ing to 53 ish, 54 of this what is a bat pattern, and I think longer term, we'll come up, probably pause, retrace, or go sideways before doing something much larger, which would be another 1618. And I think that's where this is headed. It just a part of what's happening currently. We're in monthly right now. We're overbought, but what do we know? That will stay. Will keep expanding as long as that stays in the overbought extreme. And probably the last time we saw that, you go back to 2010, it was like that. We entered the overbought, and then we continued to go up for 6 more months before spiking out. That's probably what we're doing for this run. That gets us, I think, get us up here 54-ish, and then we'll see. But it's just kind of continues to fulfill everything we talked about for the last 2 years. I think silver is a surprise, but it tells us what's happening in terms of asset inflation across the board. Yeah, I mean, look, it was oversold 2 years ago, and I'm not saying you can chase it at the moment, but know that, and this would be my recommendation. Like, be aware that this stuff is moving that aggressively, and then have the discipline to wait for those retracement opportunities. And again, like there, yellow dot, HSI arrow, or even back here in August. And we have been talking about silver for a long time. It's just that now it's making its move. You'll get another opportunity. Just wait on it. I mean, there's a lot going on, guys. This is a phenomenal market. I really think we are in the kind of like a 1995, 1996 style market. I think there's a lot of opportunities, big turnaround plays. Things are moving, and that's great. Yeah, I don't think these prices are high on gold. They're not. Longer term, because it's the new bull cycle that after being dormant for so long, playing catch up, and that could be an exponential move. I mean, here's GLD, which is insane. All right, GLD, you go back 180-ish, whatever. A year ago, 180, 200. Now we're 366. It's almost at its 3618 at about 411, 415-ish. And that's where it's going to go. And I think it's a crazy. The trend is pretty crazy. I mean, that is a blow off move. I would still project it for 3618, but the fact that the long term uptrend like this for gold, it's going to continue. We can do this. You're obviously way extended beyond this approximated channel. Doesn't really matter. But gold and the value of gold will continue to rise, like, on this kind of trajectory. Maybe it's something like, sorry. Maybe it's something like this. We come all the way back. We do our 3618 on gold. Like, you get to those crazy levels, which is, maybe like there, then come down and then go, we are obviously in a blow off move. All right, and I don't think this will be sustained forever, but we've got higher targets, and for now in the short term, meaning 6 months for sure. You go into January or February, which are the seasonal high times for gold. Yeah, then you're reaching those 3618 targets. Bitcoin versus gold, that's an interesting consideration. Is that topped? I mean, I don't know. I think people are really digging on all of that. I think you're going to have stuff that outperforms. Can I do that? There's Bitcoin versus gold. Is that right? I think that's right. It's Bitcoin versus gold. Look at that. Insane. Has that peaked? I don't think so. No, I think you have. Look at those patterns down there. 2019 Bitcoin patterns are crazy. I still say go 1618 until we get to 1618 discoveries. Even if it's I don't know a lot of different. If it's like the others index, or you look at crypto or these markets from different spread style positions. We're still looking for minimum moves of like 1618 expansions and 618 retracements. And I still say this is in a 1618 expansion where Bitcoin over gold. Yeah, and that for sure. Uh, yeah, yeah. I would be long Atlas 3i. I 3i Atlas. Uh, I think that's the craziest thing to be outside of the markets of like what's really happening. And it has been a wild year already, guys. But I think there's just we're in a hyper market. We're in a hyper kind of emotional market at the moment, so don't lose sight of that. I mean, it just is kind of hyper intense across the board, and so proceed with caution, but line up your opportunities. I mean, wait for the clearest of clear. Here's Nasdaq right now, guys. Let me go RTH 5 minutes. We had this sell off. We just checked back, and I wanted to show this to you guys that we hit like the 24,997, and we had a little bounce, a little 5 minute. We do have. Where's the pattern? Where's the last pattern? Is we have this deep crab pattern that just last Friday was the low. That's like 24,951. Hop level 24,893. I would be looking more down here because that's where the pattern is. I know we have a dot and a diamond right there. It was good for a couple bounces, but again, pattern with the confirmation. That's NQ right now. Let me see here. Yeah, nothing really at the moment. And then really quick, the industrials. Look, 46, 47,000. That's starting to take out the top end here. Remember this? Here you go. Weekly, looking for this 1618, and that's like at 50K. And we have not had anything really develop to signal even a overbought at the moment. And industrial is probably a good one to look at. Oh, hold on. Let me reload. Why did that not come up? Let me see that. Yeah, let me redo that. I don't know why that's not coming up. Go back. Hold on. DJI. Ah, yeah, that's right too. So weekly on DJI here. There you go. Same as S&P, same as Nasdaq. It's failing the hop. It's just it's slower than the other ones, and no confirmation. Not yet. Let's see here. I know I've got those turned off, but no pink diamond, and we don't even have. I think we had the first dot. No, that was on a daily. Yeah, no confirmation. And with the point about the trend in general, all right, HSI on our weekly, monthly, these are all above the 50 level. So, I'm going to stick with all of the 1618 expansions minimum. If we're beyond a 1618, if it's gold or Bitcoin, I'm looking for the extremes, the 2618, the 3618. But do understand we're going to have a lot of volatility as this continues to grind higher. I mean, it's a sweet, sweet setup, but just give it time, guys. We're going to have plenty of chances to get into this continued trend. There's the 1 hour on the diamonds like this. I think 47K on the Dow is a big number. And we're looking for what? The acceleration. When is Nasdaq going to get to 26.5? S&P going to get to 7,000 and Dow get to 50K? Probably after we get through this immediate little pause, and then it's off to the races. Don't think that we could have asked for even a better environment than we've had. Yeah. Markets look like before 1939. No, I don't think so. Look, I know what people are saying in terms of it's overextended, it's gone too far. And I just come back to NASDAQ in 1995. Where's NASDAQ Composite? Wait, let's do the big one. IXIC. No, IXIC. And I want to, I've said this many times before. I want you guys to kind of take it to task and think about it this way. Okay? When the dot com thing hit, everything was overvalued, overbought, overpriced, crazy money. And we got to go back to here. All right? And you were coming off of the 87 crash, okay? So where are we in relation to 1995? Okay? Where we are time-wise is like this. It is October 1995. Okay? The the low, I mean, and we had a retest the 87 low after 91 was 350. And then Nasdaq, the composite, more than doubled, actually tripled within 4 years after. And that was people were thinking that was too much already. And then what happened? We just continued doing this kind of progression. We had a few big stealth corrections along the way, but they were all short lived. And we're getting, I think we're getting this kind of behavior now, immediately, where we haven't seen a blow off top. In fact, I don't even think we've started to do the beginnings of the blow off top. We're still working our way to the base of a blow off top. So if this is 96, 97, okay, and if this is 25K, where we are right now, that's 25K, all right? Now, again, you might think I'm crazy. Then what are you saying, Scott? It's going to 120,000? No, not that crazy. But I do think we're going to get in the next 2-3 years a major blow off move that's double where we are, The next 5 years, can we get to uh, 2 times where we are now, 50? You guys know I throw out crazy numbers all the time. I was telling you gold to 4,000 before anybody. Nasdaq 26,500 of a 1618 advance, a year ago or more. But on a larger level, I think we are in the midst of something like this second half of the decade blowing off. I know it doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense, and it's going to be overbought for a very long time. But that's where we are. And that's really my plan over the next 5 years. Maybe it only takes three, or maybe I only need three to get what I need to get. But that's where we are. And it was 1995 that things came online, like the quantum stocks we have now and those AI stocks. And they went from a billion to 10 billion to 50 billion, and then they crashed back to a billion. And that's fine because we can catch that move. That's where we are, guys. I really, it's just so many parallels. And look at this NASDAQ. Look at what the NASDAQ did on the NASDAQ composite monthly chart, guys, after the dot-com bust. Bat pattern, type 1, type 2, deep crab, and then you'd never look back. Just the low, I think, was what? Was 1,200 there. Amazing. Amazing. You're 20x off of the 2008 low. Think about that. You're 20x. So where is it really going? If you can already do that in 17 years, which is what you've done, where is it really going? And I'm going to just stay on that because if anything, the measurements, the ratios, the patterns, they tell us when bigger things than what we could even imagine are happening, and that's really the vibe I'm kind of flexing on here. That if this is a breakout, which it is, I would even think it's a generational breakout above 20K. All right, then we're looking for an acceleration, especially with the kind of move that we had off the 2020 low, and then that this year's big tariff taco takedown. Then this becomes like an ABCD, and all of this starts stacking right at 26.5 as minimum targets across the board. Do I think the Dow is going to retest the XA level on what? On that bearish pattern? No, it's a failure. I mean, this is acceleration. This is that morphing concept where you take out certain levels, you just continue. And you should be assuming, especially in clear trending markets, that the minimum growth cycle is a 1618. The diamonds, Dow Diamonds 1618 right now is like 497, call it 500. Do the 1618, pause, and then do something crazier. Can I do gold again? Just scroll back. And you know what? For gold, look at anything that we have talked about. In fact, go back like 3 months. It's going to do you a greater service in terms of to see what I was saying about gold 3 months or 6 months or a year ago and how the patterns were fulfilled. I hear you, Luke. I hear you. Go grab one. No, but I mean, guys, the thing about what all I'm throwing this to you, this is the magnitude of what we're looking at. And this is the generational opportunity I've been talking about. I'm been alluding to this since the bottom at 2022. But now, really since last year, I thought there's so many similarities to the 90s. And now we've got crypto. We got AI, and we got quantum, and what else? And we got alternative energy. You got space coming. You know, you've got easy money policy. You got rates falling. I think it's a great a backdrop for this thing to do a blow off. And it doesn't, just because something's going to go crazy and do a blow off, overextended, overvalued move, that's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. 100 years. Yeah, maybe in 29. And everyone, yeah, and they'll say, all right, well, we're here. It's 2029, just like 1929. Maybe, but when you look at those historic blow off tops, they do unthinkable moves. You know, it's almost straight up in a short period of time. That's what the Nasdaq thing from the late 90s, man, that told me that taught me that what could happen beyond your expectations and then some in the market is truly a reality. And even now today, what's going on where the markets are and where they could potentially be in 3 to 5 years, I think are much higher prices than anyone can really even conceive. Does PAXG have the same chart as gold? It did. I don't think there was any difference there. Look at that PAXG 4000. I think it's a little different. It doesn't have the history of gold, but I've talked about PAXG. You know, PAXG has a little deep crab there at 3,900, but no confirmation. It's all right. I mean, again, you put it all together, guys. It's a hell of an environment. Just we'll get pullbacks, you know. I mean, we'll continue to get pullbacks, even though that's straight up PAXG chart, insane. But we will continue to get pullbacks along the way. But understand that these larger possibilities coming together quicker than we anticipated, I think, are signs that, yeah, get it now, get it while you can. S&P, before I get out of here, like this. Where's the the 5 minutes right there for today. I think, I'm looking maybe Nasdaq's a little bit better. S&P trying to get off of this low here. What's the really quick? Where's that hourly? Yeah, okay, the hourly on S&P. This is the other thing. Finally oversold on HSI, trying to come out, not really official until the top of the hour in about 25 minutes. So keep an eye on that. But again, use these to our advantage. This is the exact kind of a little pullback intraday where you can start looking pretty soon. It's not every time, but look, you go here, HSI dot go up, HSI dot go up a little bit, but temporary oversold areas there and there. As far as my last comment on the diamond, again, for those folks that haven't tried the software, now's the time. All right, so get over, send your TradingView username to hpc@sr-analyst.com. Let's do the giveaways on Thursday, guys. Come on back on Thursday, all right? Hit like, subscribe on the way out. You'll get the notification, but we'll be back on Thursday. I'll give away a couple of 30-day packages. And then I think what I'm going to have to do before we really get into November, I think because of all the stuff that's popping off in gold and all of this, we'll probably do a strategy session that utilizes not only the new confirmation indicator, but the pattern scanner. So let me think about that, and we'll address that on Thursday. Until then, that's what I've got. You guys have any questions, get over to me on Discord. But please take this to heart. Prepare yourself. Get ready. Because it is going to be just more fun, if not even more intense acceleration over the next 3-6 months. All right, great. Thanks, guys. Had a great one. Go get them. I'll catch you on Thursday.